Hello, everyone. This is Pamela Topchian, and today I want to talk about strengthening our immune system and just immunity in general. So, this year, the flu season has been more severe than it has been in a long time. And I'm not going to talk about the flu shot, any vaccinations, anything like that in this whole video. It has become too much of a political or controversial subject, and I just don't want to go there. But also, we're talking about holistically strengthening your immune system. So you're going to want to take notes. I think you're going to want to take notes. So go ahead and get ready, pause this video, get out some paper or whatever you like to type on or write on or whatever. So when we think of the immune system, we have to consider mainly the filters of the body, because that's what filters out toxins, right? That's the liver and your gut mainly. So your whole intestinal system and then your liver. So the intestinal system, your gut is the one that will filter everything you ingest, and then your liver filters through the bloodstream. We've been hearing a lot more lately about the gut being related to everything else in your body, and we didn't used to know all that. And there is a leaky gut syndrome. Your whole intestinal system from your mouth to the other side where things come out is really supposed to be a tube where only nutrients are secreted out through the walls, and then all the other waste will leave your body. Leaky gut is when some of the waste products aren't leaving your body, but they're being absorbed into your body. And that's a problem because it's mostly toxins or things that aren't good for you. Research has found that around 70 to 80% of the whole immune system is in your gut or has to do with your gut. When the gut is damaged by mainly toxins, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later in here, but when the gut is damaged, bacteria can leak into your bloodstream, and the immune system reacts to these sort of invaders, and over time this can lead to autoimmune disorders. The immune system begins attacking itself. And that's what an autoimmune disorder is, or an autoimmune disease. And there's so many of them, and that's not what this video is about, so we're not getting into those. But if you have one, you know how it is. I hope that you've stuck with me, even though I was rambling a little bit. So we can't talk about strengthening your immune system without talking about gut health. So again, don't worry, this whole video is not going to be on gut health, but it's a huge part of it, right? So having healthy gut bacteria helps to regulate your immune response, reducing that inflammation, and maintaining the lining of your intestines, your gut. When harmful bacteria outnumber the beneficial ones, then immune signals are disrupted, and again, potentially causing autoimmune flares or causing the diseases or disorders themselves. And if you already have one, then it's going to cause flare-ups. And again, if you have an autoimmune disorder, you know how that is, and you want to try to avoid that, right? So we'll get to some ways to help that in a little bit. But when harmful bacteria outnumber the beneficial ones, that happens a lot of times through antibiotic use. And that's why a lot of times they say you need to take a probiotic when you're taking an antibiotic, because we've got so much bacteria in our body and in our gut, and a lot of it is good. But when bad ones outnumber it and they can't be flushed through, that's when there's a problem. And so when you take an antibiotic, it's killing everything, even the good ones. So that's why we have to balance that back out. Also, your diet. And again, we'll get to that in a minute. And then stress. Stress can be trauma from the past, trauma presently in your life, or illness. Illness is even a type of trauma. It's traumatic for your body to go through an illness, even though our bodies are always trying to keep that balance and keep wellness. Our bodies are meant to try to heal themselves. So, like when you have a fever, and we all know this, right? We all know this these days that when we have a fever, that's our body's response to trying to get rid of bad toxins and bad things and bad bugs, quote unquote, in our body. So unless it gets really high, you want to leave that fever, let your body do the work and rest, rest, rest. So when it comes to that chronic inflammation, that dysfunction in your gut, it creates that constant state of inflammation. And over time, that inflammation can trigger autoimmune onset or worsen your symptoms or increase flare frequency. So many people notice symptoms improve when they improve their gut health, which in turn helps to support and strengthen your overall immune system. Also, the mind-body connection is so strong. We've heard follow your gut, meaning follow your intuition, right? And a heartache can really hurt. You can have lump in your throat when you're nervous or anxious or not feeling safe with somebody. You can get butterflies in your stomach. So all these things are the mind-body connection. So I don't want to go too deep into this one aspect of strengthening your immune system, but for more information on all of this and how the mind and body is connected and how your gut, your intuition in your gut and your mind and your body are all connected, you can do some research on the vagus nerve in relation to your gut and your brain being in communication. So look up that information if this sounds interesting to you and you'd like to learn more. So as I was talking about stress, it can alter your gut bacteria, believe it or not. I mean, again, your mind and your body is connected, and that increases inflammation. And this is why an autoimmune diagnosis or flares often will come up after emotional stress or trauma. Anybody who has an autoimmune disease, once you're stressed, if you get sick, if you have issues with trauma in your past that you're trying to work through, you might have a flare up. Okay, good information, but what can we do, right? What can we do holistically to help all of this? So an anti-inflammatory whole food diet is good. So you can look that up. So this includes unprocessed foods full of antioxidants. They're full of fiber, omega-3s, fruits and vegetables. You know, the less packaging, the closer it is to its natural state. So, you know, think about that when you're doing your shopping. And usually on the outskirts of the market, you have your fruits and vegetables and your produce. And on the other end, you might have like your frozen vegetables and stuff like that. But the more you get in the middle of it, with the foods that are highly processed, that come in a lot of packaging, that our ancestors might not even recognize as food. Those are the things you want to stay away from. They're not healthy for you in any way, no matter how much the marketing wants to market to you that they are healthy or all natural or anything like that. Or now the big thing these days is protein. So they're going to have how much protein is, you know, going to be splattered across the box or the bag or whatever it is. And that doesn't automatically mean it's healthy. So keep that in mind. So when it comes to breads, it's not just wheat, it's whole grains, nuts, seeds, you know, reducing your sugar. Of course, we know this. The processed foods like your, you know, what they used to call cold cuts, like your deli meats or just your packaged lunch meats. And there's all kinds of other processed foods. Again, these are things that a lot of our ancestors wouldn't even recognize as food. And also, processed foods, if you put some sort of processed food on the ground and you put its equivalent that's all natural and you watch what the ants or the bugs go to, sometimes something that we think is food that we eat will sit there forever and a bug won't even touch it, or even an animal sometimes. All of your fast food is highly processed. So stay away from that as much as possible. And, you know, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. We're human. And I don't want you to be so hyper focused on it that you're afraid to, eat a chip at a party or something like that. Fried foods are also something that, causes inflammation and is not good for your gut at all. So when I went to college for nursing, we had just one nutrition class. But they did talk about Mother Nature's beauty kit or Mother Nature's paint kit. So the more colorful it is, you think of like dark berries and dark leafy greens, tomatoes, carrots, these really colorful things, beets, all of those are going to be really good for you. And of course, this is something we know, but it's just something, it's just a reminder, something you want to keep in mind. When you look at your plate, is it all mushy and white or different shades of gray or, or is it fake colored, Is it likely have dyes in it or something? So you want to be aware of that kind of stuff. Olive oil is healthy, turmeric, ginger, omega-3s, like flaxseed oil capsules instead of the fish, which has its own issues. And walnuts have a lot of omega-3s in them. And you can get a lot of these. Like I said, you can get the flaxseed oil in capsules. You can also get ginger and turmeric in capsules as well. So probiotics and prebiotic foods would be fermented foods like sourdough bread, sauerkraut. And when I say sourdough bread, make sure, like, if you make it yourself, then you know for sure. The ones in the store, you have to look at the ingredients. Some of them are true sourdough bread and others aren't. Like I said, sauerkraut, believe it or not, bananas, onions, garlic. So many foods are good probiotics and prebiotics. And so you can do your research and looking for those as well. Reduce or give up alcohol altogether. Now, a funny thing is whenever you're hearing about health in any way, shape, or form that has to do with diet, it's interesting to me how they say reduce fats, reduce processed foods, reduce your alcohol. How about giving it up? Now, I know I just said don't be so hyper focused on it that you make yourself crazy, but when it comes to something like alcohol, what is good about it? Absolutely nothing. And this is and this is like, I can get up on a soapbox about alcohol, but I won't. So, don't drink alcohol. It's not good for you in any way. You'll need to take some time and some patience to find what changes can help you the most. It's individual. What helps one person may not help the other. And I'm talking about when it comes to autoimmune issues. So some things affect different people in different ways, right? Also, when it comes to different supplements and stuff like that, some things will help people and they'll get a lot of relief, and others not so much. So it takes patience and it takes diligence and time to find what works for you. So also calming your nervous system. That will definitely help with immunity because, if you're anxious and you're nervous and your body is stressed and you're always in a state of either survival mode, panic, anxiety, depression, just angst in some way, that is trauma inducing on your body, and it will cause your immune system to not be as strong. And it may also cause flare-ups if you have an autoimmune disease. So what do I mean by calming your nervous system? So thinking about your sleep hygiene. We all know, we've all heard all the things about sleep hygiene and ways to get better sleep. Breath work, gentle movement practices like yoga, tai chi, or even just walking. Of course, more strenuous exercise is healthy, but when it comes to autoimmune disorders, it can cause a flare-up if you overextend yourself. And then, of course, giving yourself adequate rest, not just the sleep hygiene, but giving yourself just rest, not to overdo it, to be self-aware, to know when you are in need of rest or a break. Other thing to search for on your own again is trauma-informed support. This is where you feel safe and supported rather than being triggered or feeling like you're reliving traumatic situations. And I'm talking about therapy or even different holistic practitioners. You can ask them, your therapist, your doctor, whatever your mental health care professional, your holistic health professional, ask them about trauma-informed support. And like I said, this is where you feel safe, you feel supported, you don't feel like you're worried to go or to talk to somebody because you don't want to be triggered or you don't want to feel like you're reliving that, as I already mentioned. Autoimmune illness isn't from one trigger, it's cumulative, a burden on your whole system, being in survival mode for a large portion of your life. And we talked about this in my video on people pleasing, which I'll link down below. So look at the description, because anything that I forgot, I always put down in the description. Anything that I thought of later, I put down in the description of the video. And I'll put that link about people pleasing down there as well. So I want you to know that you have more control than you think. And so often we feel like we're helpless and then we become hopeless and it's a vicious cycle. So you do have more control than you think. However, as I mentioned, it does take patience and it does take diligence and as well as some grace for yourself. If you get frustrated or feel helpless sometimes, have some grace with yourself, okay? The good news, like I said in the beginning, our bodies are made to heal. And there's some quote, and I don't know who it's from, or I think it's from a book. Anyway, it says that doctors give medicine to patients to give them something to do while their body heals itself. There's also that one that says, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. That's something from long ago. It's really true, though. It really is. So there's a whole placebo effect, too. And placebo doesn't mean like fake or pretending, but it's really believing and having faith. And believing that you can heal is a big part of healing. So just, try to have faith that it's possible and it'll help you. If you question the placebo effect, that's another thing to research. And all these things I've said a couple times through here to do some research on, those are the things you might want to write down so you can research when you have time. So also, enough with the gut right now, right? Enough with autoimmune disorders. Your liver also plays a huge role in overall wellness and immunity strengthening. It's a big filter. And if you eat a lot of processed foods, or again, alcohol, right? Or take medications or even supplements, if you take more than are recommended or on an empty stomach, unless the instructions say specifically to take on an empty stomach. But you're taxing your liver and reducing its functionality. So staying well hydrated also helps to filter things through. Well hydrated with plain filtered water or herbal teas. And there's plenty of herbal teas that are made for increasing your immunity, for increasing your immune strength. So look those up. If you like herbal tea, look up which ones are good for your immune system. So all those same suggestions for your gut health and reducing autoimmune disorders are also going to be the same kinds of things that are helping to keep your liver healthy. So what you probably thought this video was going to be more about is just preventing the common cold or influenza or bacterial infections, right? With everything mentioned to help repair the gut, strengthen your gut health, and your liver health is also going to be helpful in preventing illness. So don't beat yourself up as I do. When I get sick, and if you watch my videos regularly, I've had a couple times that I've been under the weather, and whatever name you want to give it, if it's whether it was an illness or not, or just being under the weather, I beat myself up about it. And I know a lot of you do too. Where did I get this from? I thought I was healthier than this. I thought my immune system was strong, right? I thought that I washed my hands real good before I ate in that restaurant. What did I do? I thought I was doing everything right and I still got sick, and it can be frustrating. So that comes again with giving yourself that grace. You may not ever figure out where you got it from. You may have been talking to somebody that had no symptoms because they haven't showed the symptoms yet themselves, because it takes a little bit of time, right? So you might have been talking to somebody pretty closely, and then a day or two later, they were down with the flu. And now you had that on you, or you breathed it in. So don't beat yourself up. I have to listen to myself. Don't beat yourself up. So some of the obvious things, what you've heard all your life, stay well hydrated, which again, I mentioned that with your health, your liver health, especially drinking that filtered water, your clean, healthy water, or herbal teas as well. Alcohol decreases your hydration. So even though you're drinking it, it still decreases your hydration. Good sleep habits, as I mentioned, eating your veggies, we've heard all our life, right? Also very important. And don't be afraid to call off of work or school or cancel plans if you're not feeling 100%. It goes a long way in not only helping you to heal if you're going to get rest and not go out and do other things, but of course, preventing illness in others. Like I just said, what if you're talking to somebody, well, maybe they didn't feel so, maybe they didn't sleep good the night before. Maybe they're starting to get a little tickle in their throat, but they don't really feel like they're sick or anything yet. So if you're starting to feel, again, self-awareness, and again, I know that so many people, it's like, I only have this many days that I can take off work, and I only have a little bit left, or I don't have any left. Things happen that it makes it almost impossible, but it's so important, and I want you to take that a little more seriously. If your workplace doesn't really care about your health or the employees or their customers, if it's a customer based, you might want to think twice about working there or changing what you do. There's also the age-old debate about putting a sweater on, staying out of the rain. Does being out in the cold or the rain cause illness? No, but it can put stress on the body and lower your immune system. If you're shaking and you're cold and you're wet, that's stress, that's trauma on the body, and it could lower your immune system, which means if you were talking to that person who, is infected, but they don't know it yet, or they're not really showing many symptoms yet, then if you have a strong immune system, your body will fight that off and you won't even know it. But if your immune system is weak or unhealthy, then you're going to catch every little thing that's in the air. So there's, on both ends of the spectrum there. So we're trying to strengthen our immunity. We're trying to help our gut health. We're trying to help our liver health and overall immunity. So what are some things that you can do? Again, this is the thing that I think you were expecting when you clicked on this video is, during cold and flu season, what can you do if you start to feel under the weather or when you feel like you might be getting sick? Taking extra supplements such as vitamin C or zinc can help. And there's other ones that a lot of people swear by, but those are the most well-known ones I think that we've all heard for many, many years is vitamin C and zinc. And for vitamin C, it's water soluble. So that means that it's not going to build up in your body. If you take too much, you'll just pee it out, or you might even get diarrhea. But your body will get rid of it if you take too much. So taking some extra vitamin C so that your body can absorb as much as it will, and extra zinc. But be careful with some of the vitamins, they can be toxic. So do your research first. Look at the recommended dosages. Look at what might be a toxic dose if taken too high. So look up some of those things when you start taking or looking into supplements. And the same thing when it comes to like tinctures and herbal remedies. Some of those can come in, bottles with droppers, and some can come in capsule form. And some of the all-time favorites are echinacea, elderberry. Um, you can gargle with salt water, and usually it's like warm salt water, and it gives you a lot of relief in your throat in place of taking some cough syrup or something. You can even gargle with water with some peroxide in it. Eating garlic or taking garlic capsules, taking Epsom salt baths. Some like to use a neti pot or saline sprays to clear their nasal passages. So if any of that is new to you, again, look it up, do your own research. And like I said, there's so many other kinds of herbal remedies and treatments and different tinctures and different home remedies and stuff like that. So look that up, look all of that up. But be sure that what you're looking at is not sponsored by somebody who can benefit from the advice that they're giving you. Check out the National Institute of Health, the NIH, or Johns Hopkins University. Those are two very reputable sites that you can look at that will also tell you about gut health, liver health, diet, supplements, all of these things. So I hope that this was somewhat helpful to you. I hope that you will make some changes, some positive changes to help your gut health, to help your liver health, to help your immunity. And I really hope that we all stay healthy and well for the rest of the season and maybe make these changes throughout the year so next season isn't so bad. So I am a retired nurse, but I'm not a doctor or a healthcare professional. Nothing mentioned here is meant to replace a visit with your own healthcare professional. So do your own research, talk to your own healthcare provider, and stay well, everyone. Thank you for being here.